Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily.
This isn't a podcast for coaches. It's for you, for real people navigating real life. It's lighthearted, it's deep, and it's grounded in faith, friendship, and purpose.
And once a month, you can join us in our virtual Life Coach Lounge on Zoom.
So pull up a seat. The Life Coach Lounge is open.
Have you ever committed to something, really committed, and then life got busy, or it got hard, or it just got boring, and you started doing that thing where you tell yourself you'll catch up later? Yeah, we've all been there. What if the only thing standing between you and actually finishing, actually following through, wasn't more discipline, wasn't a better plan, and wasn't even more motivation? It was simply another person. Today, we are talking about accountability, what it really is, why we resist it even when we desperately need it, and why sometimes the only reason we cross the finish line is because someone else is running the race with us. We've got a personal story, some real talk like always, and a conversation that might just make you reach out to that one person who always makes you better. Welcome to another episode of the Life Coach Lounge. We are so glad you're here. So I am Emily, if you are new around here, and I'm here with my friends Angela and Lisa. If you want to see our faces, go check us out on YouTube, or you can watch our podcast instead of just listening to it. So ladies, let's just dive right in. What even is accountability? When you hear the word accountability, what is your gut reaction? Is it motivating, or does it feel a little heavy? Lisa, do you want to get us started? I feel like you might have some opinions about this.
I do have opinions about this. It's not my favorite word. And, I like to look words up in the dictionary, and the other words that you could use besides accountability, I don't like those either. So, for example, I looked it up before we hit record this morning, and the first one that came up, I believe, was liability. That sounds heavy to me. Like, I don't want to be liable for any, like, I don't know, that answerability, blameworthiness, like, none of those words are like speaking to me on any level. So for me, and even the antonyms of it, I'm like, I don't know, the antonyms sound just as awful as the word itself. So yeah, for me, it's not my favorite word. And I've had to do some of my own work on, is it the accountability that I don't appreciate, or is it kind of a little deeper than that? And I'm sure you'll ask us questions later on in the episode. But yeah, to answer your initial question, yeah, it feels heavy to me.
There is a weight to it. For me, it has sort of the same feeling as the word discipline, which I feel like is a good thing, but also there's a responsibility there. So there is a little bit of weight to it. I agree. Angela, how about you? What's your gut reaction to the word accountability?
Usually immediate resistance. It's just like you said, discipline. Same, it's sort of like a push-pull. Like, oh yes, I know I need that, but no, please don't make me. Yeah.
Like there's work involved, like there's actual effort behind it. And so as I was reflecting on this, because I relate to what both of you have said, and then I thought, how does accountability actually show up in my real life, in my daily life? And as I was reflecting on that, I realized it's actually been a really good thing. So for me, that is attending Bible study where I'm studying the word with other women. That's accountability. If we have a study we're going through, it's my job to work on it throughout the week. And then it's also my job to show up if I want to and to participate in discussion. That's amazing accountability if I want to grow spiritually. I also thought about this podcast. I'm just going to be honest. There have been times where I'm like, this is hard. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of time. And I love it. But if we weren't doing this together, I may have quit or pumped the brakes or paused. But because I'm showing up also for the two of you, there's that accountability piece that is a good thing. Can you think of other examples in daily life, real life, where it shows up for either one of you? Angela, can you think of any examples?
The first thing I thought of was making dinner because since the kids have been gone, I could just open a can of tuna and be happy. But because Jim's coming home, he's worked hard, he likes a hot meal, I make it happen. So, yeah, I think marriage is probably the ultimate accountability partner, a live-in accountability partner.
Great example.
Yeah. And because all of us are mothers, that's the first thing that came to my mind too, was marriage and parenting, being accountable for so many things as a parent. And honestly, the more I thought about it, yes, I don't love the word itself, but the more I thought about it, it's because very similar to what Angela said, right? You're like, oh, discipline, like resistance. And I have to be very careful not to put an identity with it. Like, one thing I do love is constructive criticism. I happen to really appreciate that from other people. But there is that fine line of, if somebody's giving you constructive criticism and or holding you accountable to a task at work or in your marriage, not to make that mean something negative. And I think that's similar to what Angela is talking about with that, like, I just want to push back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think this shows up when we're talking about goal setting. I've shared before, I learned about homeopathy because of setting a 90-day goal. Well, as I've learned about homeopathy, it's been with a study group. So recently, I bought a course. Actually, 2 years ago, I bought a course that I wanted to go through. Did I go through it on my own? No, it just sat in the portal that I never logged into. It wasn't until I joined a study group where we showed up for 5 weeks in a row that I actually went through the course. So even choosing accountability for myself to meet my goals, this could happen like even in fitness goals. There are specific coaches that have a niche of being a health coach. I believe in that realm, there would be a lot of accountability because there's an actual physical goal to reach for your health goals. So, and just a little backstory, the reason this topic came up and I thought it would be a good conversation is because I have committed to a goal with my friend Julia, who listens to the podcast. So shout out to Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Julia.
For the year of 2026, she proposed that we make it the year of C.S. Lewis. So we committed to reading 12 books in 12 months, all C.S. Lewis. If you have ever read C.S. Lewis, and if you know anything about C.S. Lewis books, that is quite an undertaking. I have needed the accountability. So we just finished our sixth book because at the time of this recording, it's almost the end of June. We have read The Screwtape Letters, Mere Christianity, The Great Divorce, A Grief Observed, Till We Have Faces, and we just finished Miracles. And let me tell you, we both last week were texting each other and saying, if it weren't for our commitment to each other to finish this book, we probably both would have set it aside because it was super challenging to get through. So that's how it came up for me. I was like, I appreciate the accountability that we are doing this together, that we are committing to meeting once a week to discuss this book and look at what we have accomplished. Amazing. So, do either one of you have a similar situation where you have actually finished something that you committed to because somebody else was in it with you, that you are pretty sure you would have quietly abandoned the goal otherwise?
I think similar to you, I think of all of my certifications, whether it was the trauma informed one, the life coaching one, the aromatherapy one, because I am doing it typically with other people and you meet other people and you get to know them, there's what you were just describing, Emily, like you're in it together. So sometimes you can like just kvetch over like your last book that you just read that you're like, I don't know if I was doing this by myself, I probably would have laid it down. But because you're doing it with other people, you don't lay it down as quickly or as easily. And I felt that way in aromatherapy certification, certainly, because there's a whole section that just like took me right back to high school and chemistry and like learning all the molecular functions of things that I'm like, oh, this is giving me and if I wasn't doing it with some other people that I didn't know at first but got to meet, I don't know. I don't know. I might have skipped that chapter, honestly. Like, nope. So, yeah, I would say my certifications for sure other people held me accountable for that. The two of you held me accountable in, our certification process, you and the whole cohort.
It was so fun. So the first thing I thought of with this was the first year I did the Bible recap. I reached out to a group of girls that I was in another class with and said, does anyone want to go through the Bible recap with me this year? And everybody was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So we set up a group text and started and encouraged each other through the year. And I was so determined to finish it in 1 year. I think I got behind at one point, especially, right at the end of the year with the holidays. I started to get behind. And I think I like totally binged like 12 days worth of content in 2 because I was so determined to finish it by the end of the year. So I did it. I mean, obviously, you're never behind when you're reading the Bible, but it was just something I really wanted to say that I did in 1 year. And then, doing it with that group and having that texting thread, it was really motivating.
I love that. I wonder if we are changing our view on the word accountability as we have this conversation. It's fun to talk about how it actually shows up because that word does bring resistance. But then when we talk about real life examples, so far they have only been positive, growing experiences. Lisa, you kind of touched on this a little bit. When we are tempted to let ourselves off the hook and quit, what is the story that we tell ourselves? What is that internal dialogue? And how does having someone else in the loop change maybe that internal conversation?
Well, I think it's important for me personally, the internal dialogue that I'm having, needs to match my values. And if it doesn't match my values, then externally, I'm not going to show up. Like if the external doesn't match my internal, like if I'm choosing to do something because, well, Angela read the Bible in a year, so I'm going to do, I can do that, but I haven't really committed to it with my own internal reasons why, then externally, I'm not going to match that. So I think for me personally, that's where I sometimes push back on accountability when I have recognized that, okay, I signed up for something that really isn't me. And prime example, like we've talked about this, I can't even tell our listeners how many times we've talked about this, both in the Marcos or on Zoom calls or whatever. But we all talk about like our planners, right? Like some of us have in hand planners. Angela's got all her stickers and all the things. And I so badly wanted to be that person. Like I wanted to have the pretty hard copy planner and tried for almost 2 years. I'm not that person. It wasn't that I wasn't holding myself accountable for being organized. It's just that wasn't my lane. My lane was more digital. So that's what I mean. Like it has to align with who I am. And sometimes that's not an easy question to have with yourself.
Right, that goes deeper. You have to get to your why. You have to get to even know what your values are to run it through a filter to see if there is a desire there, like a true why. That's a great point. Angela, when you're tempted to let yourself off the hook, what is the story you tell yourself?
It starts with why bother? Why am I doing this? It doesn't matter.
So self-sabotage
I
sort of
think.
talk.
Yeah, great way to say it. Yeah. Yeah. That's all the self-talk. Yeah.
Or even it's too hard. So even if I get to a point of realizing that, yes, this is a goal, this is what I want to do, I have determined this does align with my values and what I want from, my life, the thought it's too hard still comes up super easily for me. Like, it's too hard. I don't have time. Pick any excuse in the book, right? And as we've talked before, that is just our brain doing what brains do. When you are challenging yourself to do something you've never done before or pushing your limits, whether that's strength training or reading a C.S. Lewis book in a month or reading through the Bible recap, which is an amazing goal, but to read through it and get through all that content in a year is a time commitment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having someone else in the loop helps you to quiet those voices because you have that extra motivation to be accountable to that friend, to that group, to what you committed to. And it can't just be you talking yourself out of it. It can be. You can quit at any time, but then you have to have a conversation with the friend or with the group leader, or somebody might even check in. Hey, where you been? We've missed you. So I think that's the value of joining in with other people.
I think sometimes also when it comes to why we quit is I'll take the we out of it. As a recovering type A person, I am learning to give myself more flexibility. So, especially when it comes to anything physical, my body at my age and my current state has limitations. My brain doesn't like the limitations. So, therefore, I will oftentimes be like, well, then I can't do it. Instead of being flexible, how can you do it? Maybe it doesn't look like the next person, but how can you do it? And so I think sometimes that's also another easy way. It's almost fear showing up to be like, well, it didn't work, or you got derailed, or something came up. It's not working the way it used to. And you don't allow yourself the flexibility to pivot and do it differently.
Great point. I love how you said that. So, how about accountability when we are meeting with clients? As life coaches, do you formally offer accountability to your clients? Or do you see that as something different from what coaching is? Where do you land on that?
I think it's a great question to ask if a client would like accountability, but I think the bigger question is how are you being accountable to yourself? are you honoring your word to yourself? Because the more and more and more you flex that muscle, the more self discipline, self control that you have to reach your goals or finish a project or whatever it is. I think that's a bigger coaching conversation about just being accountable to yourself and finishing what you said you wanted to do.
I 100% agree with that. I think it's the quote unquote accountability piece as a coach that I'm holding for the client is guiding them on how to be accountable for themselves. That's where I fall on it. I don't see myself as an accountability coach. I'm not I didn't sign up for that. There are accountability coaches out there. That's not my lane. You teach them to be accountable, it's going to move them forward in their purpose on many levels instead of me holding the accountability for them. Because then when it's over, well, the next thing comes along and now someone needs to hold them accountable for that thing.
Yes, helping them to be accountable to themselves and what they said that they would like to accomplish and what they said they want to implement. But even meeting with someone weekly or bi-weekly, the accountability is, so how did you show up for yourself this week? Checking in, not did you do the thing, but how did you show up for yourself? How did you follow through on what you said you wanted to do? So I do think there's nuance to it, and it also is determined by what kind of relationship you have with the client. If you've been working with them for a long time, I know it's come up for me where I'll say, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable next week and ask you if you have done the thing that you said you wanted to do. And I'm saying it in a way that I'm not like holding their feet to the fire, but also, okay, you've been talking about doing this thing and you haven't. So I'm actually going to ask you next time, did you do the thing? And then that will bring up more dialogue, more conversation, more feelings. So I definitely think there's nuance to it.
And I think we all like dopamine. Like we all like all the claps, all the, rah rah and cheers and fun emojis and all those things. And so I will offer that up to my clients in a way that's more kind of conversational. Like I have no problem if a client wants to take their personal time to shoot me a message or an email that said, hey, I know we're not meeting until such and such a date, but I just wanted to let you know because they're riding that dopamine. And so I want to celebrate that with them. So I do encourage that if they want to, because we all like an atta girl, but I don't see that as holding them accountable. I just see that as what coaching is for me, which is just sitting next to that person and being their guide.
I think a big piece of the puzzle too is consent. Asking, would you like to be, or even asking, like, will you hold me accountable? If I'm, everyone knows I do laundry on Mondays and do my ironing on Mondays. If Jim says to me, I never remember to put all my dirty clothes in the basket on Monday morning. Will you please remind me? Versus every Monday, if I'm like, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. It's more of a nagging than an accountability. And so I think consent is a big piece of the puzzle.
Definitely. I love that you brought that up. Yes. Okay, ladies, as we wrap up this conversation, I have two questions. The first one is, what is one thing you're taking from this conversation that you're walking away thinking about differently?
Expect resistance. Just because resistance shows up, that's just a bump in the road. It's not a roadblock.
And when that resistance shows up, be flexible. Like if you hit that bump in the road and you actually trip and fall and hurt yourself, okay. It doesn't mean that you can't keep moving forward. It just might look different. You can still hold yourself accountable. It just looks different.
And that resistance doesn't necessarily mean the thing that you are wanting, accountability, is a negative thing. I love how we started the conversation with Lisa giving us the definitions for accountability or synonyms for accountability. I think we might need to look in a different dictionary because I was thinking when you first read those, like, oh yeah, that's a terrible word. That's a terrible concept. It's actually not. Accountability can be the missing piece to help you accomplish your goals. Okay, second question. Is there something you want to be held accountable for right here, right now, with us as your witnesses? Here's your chance.
You start, Emily. I do. I think I committed even on this podcast to start writing a book. So there it is again. I give consent. You may ask me if I'm writing.
We will. We'd be happy to help you accomplish that goal because we can't wait to read your book.
Me too.
My husband told me just last night, you should write a book. You have a lot to say. And and it was in a good way. We wasn't being his typical sarcastic self. And I'm like, that could be a great title of a book. I have a lot to say. And because I have a lot to say, each chapter is just on something I have a lot to say on. It's not going to consecutively go from chapter 1 to whatever. I'm not committing to writing a book, though. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just finding humor in the fact that write your words. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of things. Do I want to be called out? Do I want the spotlight? I'm not sure.
No pressure. You have to give consent, like Angela said. So no pressure to answer the question. You can pass.
Okay, I started years ago. I think I've actually mentioned this on the podcast too, just like Angela said. I started years ago crocheting, and that sucker is sitting in a basket in my living room. It has moved now because the vacuum cleaner just keeps pushing the basket further and further over. So I think it's like actually underneath another piece of furniture right now. I've looked at it so many times and I'm like, are you going to pick that up again? Because what I remember is when I was doing it, it was incredibly relaxing. I started it when I was just going through a period of time where I needed distraction in a calming way, and that was it for me. And I would like to pull it back out again. Maybe I pull it all apart and I start from scratch. I don't know. But I think if I had to be held accountable for something this summer, that would be it.
Love it.
So for me, I really would like to get back to some strength training, just light weights. I know it's good for me. I was doing so well probably a year ago. I was in the habit. I don't do vigorous exercise, just enough to keep me feeling like I'm fit and toned. And as we get older, ladies, we know a little bit of strength training goes a long way for keeping us mobile and agile. And since I've been dealing with some adrenal fatigue, I just haven't had the energy. But I love what you said earlier, Lisa. Just because I have some physical limitations doesn't mean I can't. It means I can ask the question, what can I do? Maybe it's 10 minutes and it's later in the afternoon or early evening instead of the morning when my energy is lower. So you both can ask me. I give you full permission. Emily, have you lifted any weights today? Text me, Send me a Marco anytime.
You got it.
When you go to get your raw milk, like, are they in common gallons? Like, I'm thinking do some grocery shopping bag lifts or something. Like,
That's a great point. That's a great point. I get the milk in glass jars, so I'm a little nervous about dropping them. So we'll
okay,
probably
okay,
just
maybe not that. I was
transfer those
thinking,
from the
yeah.
cooler to the refrigerator. But I actually saw a video not too long ago where they were encouraging you to do squats or even like calf raises when you brush your teeth. So I've started doing that at night. Just a little thing. It takes a lot of concentration because I have like an electric toothbrush. And so not only are you focusing on, what tooth you're on and like getting to every tooth, but you're like up and down with your calf raises or holding on to the counter doing a squat. So I'm getting there. I want the consistency. And that is, I think, where the accountability comes in. When I'm looking for consistency, I do much better when I have the accountability.
What habit stacking? Habit stack it.
Yeah.
Habit stacking. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the conversation today, friends. And listeners, if you have a goal or something that you would like us to hold you accountable for, we are here to support you. We are here to cheer you on, but we would love to hear about it. What are some goals that you would like accountability for? Who in your life could be your, quote, C.S. Lewis reading partner? Who is the person that would keep you in the book, in the race, in the goal? Not because they're watching you, but because they're running with you. Maybe this week you reach out to that person. Or perhaps this is your prompting to get the support and accountability you're looking for from a life coach. You know how to find us. Send us a DM or find our info in the show notes. And while you're in the show notes, click on that link to join our private Facebook group. Thank you again for joining us today. We will see you again next Tuesday here in the lounge. And Angela and Lisa, I can't wait to carry this conversation over into the Marcos. I think we have a lot more to say about this. Have a blessed day, friends.